Let it be, let it be. Good morning to all our viewers joining us today. That's a good way to start. What have you been up to? Welcome to Accenture's Data and AI Week. It's a 5-day virtual event that will take place from May 5th to May 9th, 2025. I'm Govind Raj Ethiraj, a financial journalist and entrepreneur, and I'm very excited to be part of this week of discovery, learning, and transformation as a moderator for all these sessions. So this 5-day virtual event is your gateway to the future of data and AI. So join us as we explore how Accenture is shaping this future through innovative data and AI solutions, industry insights, and real-world applications that are transforming industries and enterprises. In the era of data and generative AI, the landscape is rapidly evolving, and the demand for specialized skills is higher than ever. So whether you're a data scientist, AI engineer, business analyst, or someone who's just passionate about building a career in data and AI, this 5-day event is designed for you. So thank you for being here. And let's get started with day one of the Accenture's Data and AI Week. Data and AI are at the forefront of driving an autonomous future, transforming industries with intelligent, autonomous systems that optimize processes and make informed decisions. Today, we kick off with the theme, the AI revolution, reinventing enterprises with Gen AI and data-driven insights. And it's not just about the tech, it's about how AI particularly generative AI, powered by data, is reshaping the DNA of modern enterprises, from the way decisions are made to how entire industries operate. Before we dive in, let's take a moment to think about what autonomy in AI really means. Not just automation, but AI that can perceive, learn, and act with intention. So let's hear from someone who's been at the forefront of this journey, and I've had the opportunity to speak with her before as well. So today we have with us Senthil Ramani, who serves as the global leader for data and AI for Accenture. In this role, he oversees data and AI strategies, services, investments, and builds market-leading capabilities led by client value. Senthil has extensive experience helping companies transform through technology by developing strategies, identifying use cases, building a strong digital core, and developing talent for the future. And talent is who you are. Senthil is also a member of Accenture's Global Management Committee. He holds a master's degree in operations research from Arizona State University and an advanced management program degree from Harvard Business School. Senthil, welcome to today's first session, and it's over to you to speak to our audience for a few minutes.
Govind, thank you. Thank you so much. And it's wonderful to have you, as our anchor for the next 5 days. So I really appreciate your time. The fact that you're all tuned in today means that we are all in the movement to use AI to change the world, the change we want in the world, and also the change that you might be looking at your careers as well, which I call is their destination, career. And I'm going to actually walk you through what that really means in 3 chapters that I'm going to walk you through, today. And to do that, I'm going to use a few slides, and I'm going to have my colleagues also pop in the different links here, because all the literature is available, for you as well online. And I'd like you to probably take time to read through this as well, because we've spent a lot of time and effort, to put into this research as well. So let me probably share my screen first. And I'm going to make sure that my colleagues can confirm that the screen is visible.
It is.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So let's probably get started with 3 chapters I wanted to walk you through today. Let's start with key trends and what we are seeing here. Accenture released the Accenture Technology Vision 4 months back at CES, and we want to walk you through the same and what that means to the AI world. Number two, I think it's important for us to recognize where enterprises truly are on their AI journey. And third, as I said, your destination. What does it mean for you? What does it mean for us? And what does it mean for us together in the next 5 days and beyond that? So the first thing I wanted to walk you through is what are the key trends that we are starting to see in AI. I think Govind alluded to this. AI's possibilities are limitless today. As a matter of fact, there is only one limitation to AI, and that's going to be trust. And I'm going to talk about AI trust today quite a bit. If you notice what is happening for the past 2 years since ChatGPT came out and Gen AI came out, there has been obviously a significant commoditization of AI, and AI has become more generalized as a technology, which is fantastic. You start to see that Gen AI was cracking the code on language. But not only that, agentic AI that's now out there for the past 6 months or 7 months in more vogue, if you will, has cracked the code on both action and intelligence. Imagine running an enterprise, which understands language, which understands math, which understands action, and which is intelligent. You can pretty much run AI as a generalized technology, and which is why I'm saying the possibilities of running AI is limitless today. And that takes you into the second important trend, that is AI-powered autonomy. Now, AI can run autonomously significantly in many, many different enterprises, but the adoption is just not there in many enterprises. And I'm going to talk to you about it a little later as part of what we call as our front runner report as well. There is a lot of work for us to do collectively in this field. Our going in position to our clients, enterprises, governments, societies, and anyone who wants to adopt AI is that they need a cognitive digital brain. And I'm going to unpack what a cognitive digital brain is in just a minute. At the same time, trust has two important aspects to it. It is just not the intelligence part of the cognitive part of it. It is also the emotional part of it, which is where a lot of the focus from Accenture is happening too. Now let's unpack what a cognitive digital brain is. A human digital brain typically takes around 18 years to form. I can tell you that because the IQ and the EQ needs to develop over a long time. And in fact, the human brain for an average IQ person can understand the 5 English words that are coming out of my mouth at this point in time. Beyond that, it's hard to comprehend the same. Whereas a digital brain takes less than 2 months to build today in today's context. You can use great foundation models for doing it. Not only that, the processing speed can be a little over 200 words, at a point in time, which is impossible for the human to actually comprehend as well. But the cognitive digital brain can do this through four important vectors. The first is the knowledge vector that you feed it. Second are the models that you actually use. There are a little over 2,200 foundation models out there that Accenture has registered and certified and is reviewing. There are agents which are actually going to help you do that. Like I said, agents are intelligent. They can also act. And two of the very important characteristics that they have, in the world. And the third and the last important thing is, besides agent, is going to be governance, which is the fourth vector. Running AI with the right guardrails, with the right responsibility layer is going to be very, very important. That takes me to what I really define as trusted AI and trusted agents. A lot of the focus in AI today has been on the cognitive side, like I said. And that's fantastic. People love to do models. People love learning algorithms. When I started my career writing algorithms in my operations research world, more statistical and regression at that, and I was trying to do NP soft and NP hard problems at that. And those are exciting times because there is so much math we can deal with. But today's world, cognition is not the only important thing. The ability to understand agents in the emotive way is important. Ability to train the agents, ability to have digital mentors for the agents, ability to onboard agents in a manner in an organization as normal employees like you and me are going to be really, really important. A lot of the focus in Accenture is both on the cognitive side and on the emotional side. And I'm sure that's going to excite you because we all want to live in a world which is extremely balanced and powered by AI. Let me walk you through the four specific trends, in our technology vision. And I want my colleagues to probably drop in the link for you so you can probably read this, offline as well. The first important trend is binary Big Bang. When Gen AI came in, we said that there is going to be a significant productivity gain on coding, as well as an ability to go back and look at heritage architectures, technology architectures, and move those heritage technology architectures into the new. That's exactly what we call as a binary Big Bang. AI can now significantly do that. Imagine a data estate. We all know data is the Achilles heel for scaled AI. If you had a data estate today, you don't need to apply traditional migration, modernization, methods on it. You can apply agentic AI on top of it. You can apply Gen AI on top of it in order for your data to get better and faster. Binary Big Bang is exactly that. It helps our systems more updated and real time. In the world of agents, what's going to happen is suddenly everything is going to look quite similar, right? Because you're going to have agents do a lot of the work. They're both intelligence, like I told you, and if fed with the right emotion, they can act with the right tonality, linguistics, and culture, in front of any person who's interacting with it. But imagine a world where every enterprise has agents. What's going to happen? There needs to be something differentiating. And that's the focus we have at Accenture is how do we hyper personalize the interactions with the customer, with the consumer, and with employees. And your face in the future is exactly where we do that trend. So we've taken this trend and we've started to differentiate how our agents should act and would act in a hyper personalized world. Now, we've all talked about enterprises adopting AI significantly. And the interesting aspect is, if you notice for the past few years, when LLMs start to get their own bodies, it becomes the age in which physical AI is going to become critical now. What physical AI really means is an ability to feed AI into physical objects, be it robotics, be it AGVs, and be it any warehouses out there, any supply chain mechanisms out there, anything physical out there, be it refineries and plants and so on and so forth. But when you start to feed LLMs into those, they can have, they can move from one, which is, a general purpose, into multi-purpose. Today's robots, in most cases, as you all know, is trained on a specific task. But tomorrow's robots, once fed with LLMs and with the knowledge that you have, a single robot can do multiple different tasks at the same time. You can imagine the return on your capital in the same as well. So an area of physical AI is really important for us at Accenture and something that we are focusing on. I'm going to give you an example in the next chapter. Last but not least, the new learning loop. Again, I want to sincerely thank for all of you being here because not only are you interested to know if Accenture is the right destination for you, but the fact that you're here to learn in the next 5 days, as Govind puts it, we've got a great agenda in front of us. The fact that you're here to learn actually makes me think that the new learning loop has already arrived. Every enterprise for $1 that they put on AI need to put $7 on learning. This is going to be very, very critical for them. And learning happens every Monday. In fact, I tell my team every Monday AI changes, which means that we got to be up to date. We have to be aware, and we have to be a couple of steps ahead of our clients and enterprises to help them on the same. So the new learning loop is very important. At the same time, without humans, agents don't learn. So the symbiotic relationship that the humans and the agents need to have is going to be extremely critical in the future. Now, with that said, I wanted to give you a context on our vision across those four important trends. But now let's really look at on chapter 2, where are enterprises in this journey today? So we ran an exercise, with over 2,000, executives, and we called this the Front Runners Report. I'm going to ask my team again to pop in the front runners report in the chat window for you. I'd love for you to go ahead and read that because there is a lot of exciting information across industries that we've covered. In fact, we've covered 9 industries and over 15 countries. And what we did was we used our maturity model on data and AI to see where organizations truly are. And we had a very hard bound rule for doing the same because we used a little over 120 different matrices to measure this. We identified only 15% of organizations are reinvention ready. You see the right side here, which what we call as fast followers and as front runners. The 7%, 8% is what you see here are really organizations who are at the fourth quadrant of AI. It also shows that the amount of work that we all need to do collectively in this call is so much higher. 85% of the organizations have not even, either they've started the journey or are still only progressing, along with AI and data, which means that we have a lot of work to do. That takes me into, 4 leading, examples that I wanted to give you all on some of the clients in this particular journey. Now let's divide this slide into the clients we see on the enterprise side, industrial, and sovereign. When it comes to AI and Accenture, these are the different vectors in which we work with our clients: enterprise and consumer, industrial AI customers, as well as our customers in the sovereign side. Let me start with enterprise. The work that we do with Telstra is market leading. It's probably one of the most unique data and AI programs that's probably happening in the planet. And the reason I say that is that this is where Telstra moved away from 18 different vendors they were working on to finally focus on Accenture and build a JV and a joint venture with Accenture to take Telstra to the next level. Telstra is a world leader in telecoms. We know that. And the power of Accenture and Telstra is going to be creating multiple different AI products and data products that is going to help Telstra leapfrog, the competition and set a completely new, standard for how AI and telecom is going to operate. The work we do with QBE, one of the leading insurance companies globally, is phenomenal. The work that we do there on underwriting and the fact that we've actually gone at scale with underwriting has been already published in multiple different forums. And now, not only that, we're expanding our capabilities with QBE significantly as well. BBVA has been a world leader in financial services. We all know it's an organization which always pushes its pedal. Remember what it did with the digital journey. It moved to digital in 2018, 2019, and it added 8 million, customers from a digital channel perspective, one of the largest, we've seen in the industry. Not only that, BBVA is now embarking on Gen AI and agentic AI as well. Then Accenture is proud to be associated, with BBVA on that. Let me take you to industrial. The work that we do with Kion, a leading warehouse as a service company in Germany, and now working globally, and Kion's customers include Amazon warehouses, just so you all know, is phenomenal because the ability to actually bring in Omniverse capabilities from NVIDIA, couple that with existing capabilities on warehouse as a service, and provide that as a solution is changing the way physical AI can operate in the world. I told you about robotics. I told you about how multi-purposes robotics are going to be the future. This is it. This is where we are doing a lot of that work. Not only that, we are coupling that with vision and we are coupling that with computer vision, knowledge that we have and the models that we are adding from our world model perspective to enhance, the solution here for Kion. Indosat is right here in Indonesia. It's the second largest telecommunication provider there, as you all know. But what Indosat did to move to become a techco has been exemplary. We are excited and honored to partner with Indosat because not only that, we are working with Google, we are working with NVIDIA and many other providers to provide Indosat with the next generation sovereign AI capabilities to provide GPU as a service and provide industry solutions in banking. And for those of you know, and I haven't put the icon here, who are really wanting to use AI for good, please join us because that's a deep area of passion for me. And I spend all my Fridays typically on doing AI for good programs. The work we started with HCG Group in Bangalore on cancer research has been critical for us because the data that we've collected, the ability of the analysis that we are doing with AI is going to really help significant number of cancer patients, globally as well as in South Asia as well. And that is just one example I wanted to give you. And if you're looking for more examples on AI for good, please reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you about it and have you part of the journey as well. Now, I want to tell you, and this is going to be my sales pitch to you for the next 5 minutes. Why is this your destination? Let's start with our purpose. We set up our purpose a couple of years ago. And the interesting thing is, we haven't changed a single word on it because our purpose is exactly the same. We want to help our enterprises optimize and reinvent with data and AI in a responsible way. That is our purpose. That is the entire mission that this team has that is going to talk to you about. And we'd love for you to be part of it. Now, let me tell you why. Now, if you really look at data and AI, it's a massive world. There are a lot of options out there. And the interesting thing about options is that you get to have options, but at the same time you get confused as well. So I'll make this actually quite easy for you. This is a company which said out there 2 years back that they will invest $3 billion. And so have we done that. We've actually set up $1 billion business just for learning through our LearnVantage. We've delivered the outcomes that we said we will deliver to the street, especially when it comes to Gen AI. We were the first ones to go out to the street and talk to everybody about the sales we do in Gen AI. We have the most purest way of looking at what Gen AI really means and not confuse that with classical AI. We've been very successful in the market in helping our clients with over 2,000 Gen AI programs as well. We have a strength of over 72,000 people in our data and AI team, and that strength continues to grow. And we take training and learning super seriously. You can see the number of hours that we throw on learning and training here as well. Besides that, our work on ventures and acquisitions continues to happen. We believe that skills are important to actually acquire, especially in areas where we believe we want to go very, very fast. Example, AI engineering and advanced AI skills that we have, and future data skills that one needs as well. We released a model called the R12 model. The R12 model were 12 roles that the data and AI practice of the future would need. And every one of those roles that my colleagues will talk to you about later, in the week, are critical roles. And those roles are all fundamentally changing. So Accenture always tries to stay ahead in terms of the roles and the training that we provide. What you see in the bottom there on the ecosystem partner of the year, we are the ecosystem partner of the year with every provider out there, be it NVIDIA, Google, AWS, Microsoft. We are also the ecosystem partner of the year with both Snowflake and Databricks in the same year. That has never happened. And with one of our leaders like SAP as well. That means that the access to the ecosystem is out there for you. The work that they do is leading edge along with us. We create assets, solutions, and offerings, along with them as well. Look, if I were you sitting there listening to me, listening to Govind, listening to all my data and AI colleagues who want to join us, listening to our customers who want to join us, our ecosystem partners who want to join us, I want to tell you that if you are in the mission to change the world with AI, Accenture is your destination. Over to you, Govind.
Thank you, Senthil, for setting the tone for the week. And the idea of agentic AI and the shift from task execution to intelligent autonomy gives us a glimpse into the AI-led enterprise of tomorrow. I like the term you used about every Monday AI is changing. It applies to us in the media world as well as so many other industries that you're talking to. I have one quick question for you, Senthil. So the survey that you referred to, you talked about 15% of organizations being reinvention ready, and that's really the theme of our discussion that's coming up. And you've spoken to about 2,000 executives. Now, my question is the lack of readiness, how much would you attribute it to, let's say, desire, the lack of skills, or other factors that typically play in any technology transition from your experience?
Govind, that's a great question. And in the report, we've highlighted the 5 important areas and imperatives that organizations need to have. The first one actually really starts with the CEO imperative themselves. In most cases where we've seen the top-down imperative of wanting to make sure that you transform and reinvent your organization with AI, like Julie does, like with Accenture itself, as an example, is going to be paramount. And lot of these examples I showed you, CEO of Indosat is Vikram, he's personally involved. CEO of Telstra is Vicky, she's personally involved. Similarly with Kion and so on and so forth. So I think that's one aspect that we've seen as what front runners really do. The second one is really around the fact that it needs to be very clearly, related to folks knowing that their digital core is important. Having the data ready, having responsible AI ready, and making sure that you have the right tool sets to create that foundation is going to be really important, right, for organizations. In fact, the amount of investment they need to do is significant on data, right, for you to have your AI ready. I think that's the second important aspect we found. The third important aspect is skills, like you rightly said, because a lot of the organizations still need to learn every day. At the same time, make sure that they transform their internal skills, both their IT department, their digital department, as well as the businesses who need to adopt that. So I think that's been a third important area as well. Govind?
Right. Senthil, thank you so much. We're running on a tight clock, so I will say goodbye to you here. And what happens when AI goes from back office automation to frontline decision making? Well, we have the privilege of gathering some of the brightest minds in the field to explore how generative AI and data-driven insights are redefining the way enterprises operate. From enhancing decision making to driving innovation, we will delve into the transformative power of these technologies and how they're shaping the future of business. So let's go into the panel discussion on the theme, the AI revolution, reinventing enterprises with Gen AI and data-driven insights. The term reinventing, you've just heard us talk about. Now, joining me on the next panel are Mukesh Chaudhary. Mukesh is the lead for data and AI for Accenture's Advanced Technology Centers Global Network. He's also the global delivery lead for data for Accenture, playing a vital role in scaling the company's data and AI operations. Next up, Ramakrishna Dantaluri, a director of generative AI platforms at Novartis, a technology leader with deep expertise in AI-driven digital transformation, platform engineering, and enterprise innovation. He's led global teams to build scalable platforms and AI capabilities across industries like pharma, retail, and SaaS, with a strong focus on operational efficiency, compliance, and business impact. Sachin Jain serves as the Managing Director of Data and AI in Accenture's Strategy and Consulting Global Network, with more than 20 years of experience in analytics within the financial services sector. He has collaborated with top banks, wealth management firms, and regulators to drive AI data and AI-led transformations. He spearheads the development of AI solutions, strategic perspectives, and key assets, while also managing project delivery and ensuring tangible value from analytics initiatives. And we also have with us Sundar Nagalingam, Senior Director at NVIDIA, an industry veteran with over 20 years of experience. Sundar is responsible for NVIDIA's AI Consulting Partners program globally. He and his team have been working with consulting partners on building transformative AI practices. His role involves working with global system integrators, executive leaders to define business goals, understand workflows, and build platforms on modern AI techniques, which is currently heavily focused on generative AI. He's also responsible for establishing a joint go-to-market strategy by verticals and align the same to NVIDIA's regional business goals. And before we dive in, we will have a Q&A session at the end of the discussion, so please feel free to type your questions in the window you see at the bottom of the screen, and we'll surely get to as many as we can in the time that we have. So thank you all for joining me once. And, we were chatting about this before as well. And when we talk about reinvention or reinventing enterprises with Gen AI and data-driven insights, the concept of reinvention is perhaps the most challenging in many ways. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask each of our speakers to speak for a couple of minutes on how they view this theme from their vantage point, from where they are in their respective industries or practices, after which we'll have a free-flowing conversation. So Mukesh, it's over to you.
Good morning, Govind. Good morning to all the co-panelists, and good morning to everyone who has joined us and listening this morning. So, let me, Govind, start with a few examples that will kind of set the tone for, what do we mean when we say, reinvention with Gen AI. And the first example that I'll take is your B2B example in manufacturing industry, and just say that I'm a salesperson in who is generating a lead and then converting that lead to an order, and then from order it gets to invoice, and then from invoice finally we get to cash. Now these are broad set of steps in lead to cash process. But just think of it that when you double click, there are so many manual steps that are involved. And me as a salesperson is spending more time getting, let me get to a different example. Say, you are purchasing a luxury car, right? You, not me. You're purchasing a luxury car, and you go to this dealer, favorite customization that you want, and then later you come to know that actually configuration is not possible. That actually happens. Dealers have to go back when you do these customization choices. Dealers have to go back to the company and then validate. And many a times it happens that you don't really have that configuration available. Now, just agents. Now, when we talk about examples, how can I not talk about our own example of Accenture, right? And as we say, we know, and Sen was telling that in his keynote, like we strive at Accenture, we strive, to be our own best credential, and corporate, function reinvention is one of the big themes for us. And if you take marketing function as an example, and running a campaign, for example, we have actually reimagined that with agentic AI, and that has reduced the number of manual steps by almost 35 to 40%, and we are able to go to the market 25 to 34% faster. Now, if you look at each of these examples, you will see a common set of patterns, right? So what is the first common pattern that we see is that the business processes are actually moving away from being hardwired and hard to change to becoming more fluid and composable with agents. The second thing that we see is that you have access to enterprise data across domains. Okay, and for agents to actually function properly, right? So these are some of the patterns that you see in each of these examples that we talk about. But these are things that we are already working with clients on, or within our own organization. So these are real; these are happening.
Right. Mukesh, thanks for that sort of setting us off. Sachin, it's over to you.
Thank you, Kubit. And it's interesting because financial services, banking, capital markets, this is one industry that has been maximum impacted by what we are seeing from a technology perspective. In fact, about 2 years back, we did a study. We looked at the entire landscape of all the time that people spent in a typical bank, and we did this across different geographies. And we realized that more than 70% of the time that people, the work that they do, will be impacted. Now, this could be either completely automated, or it could be augmented to a large extent. And that is what we are seeing now in terms of when we look at what clients are doing and where things are evolving. And I think it's fascinating because I've been in this space for like 20 odd years. It's fascinating to see that some of the hardest problems, which were fundamentally not being able to solve earlier, are now being tackled. I'll give you an example. So if you imagine, let's say in banking, the whole concept of advice, being able to give personalized advice to an individual, we have talked about it, but again, that has not really been very effective. You go to a branch, it's primarily for service. You don't really get a personalized experience. You want to understand and get quality advice. It's only accessible to, let's say, if you are a ultra HNI individual, you will have, let's say, your own private banker, relationship manager who can advise you. What we are now seeing with the possibilities of generative AI, that everyone can fundamentally have a relationship advisor or a personal finance buddy in their pockets. And it's fascinating when you think about it. your ability to understand what is happening, someone to guide you, coach you in terms of what you should be doing with your finances. Where are you spending? Can you optimize it? Someone to give you the nudges in terms of, let's say, these are some of the things that are coming up. Why don't you plan for that in terms of some kind of a short-term investment or some kind of a long-term investments? I think a lot of those possibilities as we see today, they are fascinating. And in banking particularly, what I see is that because it's a lot of things that banks do on their own, but given the fact that the banks have such a significant impact on society as well, I'm actually very excited the kind of things that we are able to do right now. Like some of those things ultimately leads to uh, better financial literacy. And what we say that government has done a lot of work with financial inclusion with UPI, DBT, and everything else. I think the whole movement from, let's say, financial inclusion to financial well-being is where some of these technologies are playing a very, very pivotal role. I think that is something that gets me excited. Yeah.
Right. Sajin, thanks for that. And I think, when we talk about financial services and advice, there is the issue of trust, which Senthil brought up as well. And we'll get into that in a moment. Ramakrishna, it's up to you. Rather, it's over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Govind, for having me. And thank you, Accenture, for setting up this wonderful panel. So generative AI, we look at generative AI as a very strategic opportunity for us. We see it as the potential to alter the ways of working across our organization. It can drive operational efficiencies to create business value. So in this large context, what we are noticing is that fundamentally how this is enabling is that the way humans and machines interact is changing. I think I like to repeat myself and say language is the new UI. So in that context, if the way humans and machines are interacting is changing and is powered by this generative AI, we don't see any aspect of our daily work being immune to this change. So from to enable that, to make sure that we are in the right position to leverage this technology, we have initiated multiple efforts within the organization, from democratizing AI usage to also democratizing the ability to build and work with AI. So tremendous opportunity for us. Novartis is going ahead full steam with this opportunity. So.
Right. Ram, when you say democratizing, and let me throw in a quick question and then go to Sundar. What does it mean for someone who's, let's say, a younger management trainee, or maybe a little above that, or a young manager in your company?
So it would typically mean first is individual productivity gains. Obviously, with all of these tools available at the disposal, your work gets done quicker. Your cognitive load is much lighter, so you have the ability to think and perform more rewarding and more valuable tasks, as well as looking at the opportunity in a larger context and say how this will be able to support or improve the existing processes, the existing workflows and operating procedures that we have. So it provides the bandwidth in the human cognition to do a lot more than what was previously possible.
Right, and I'm assuming what you're saying, therefore, is that this was something that was accessible to people up the food chain, but is now accessible to everyone, and that obviously makes the whole enterprise more efficient. Okay, we'll come back to that as well. Sundar, it's over to you.
Thank you, Accenture, for having me here. I'm very happy privileged to be here amongst this esteemed panelists. Okay, I'm going to answer this question from a different lens, from a technology lens, because I represent NVIDIA, which is at the forefront of technology when it comes to generative AI. So the question was, how do enterprises reinventing themselves when it comes to the generative AI journey? So, data and insights is nothing new. It has been there for decades, and it's just the tools, the techniques that are used to understand data and deliver, actionable intelligence from the data that has been changing, that has been evolving. Advanced data analytics, we all know that evolved to machine learning, and then deep learning enabled people to look at unstructured data, just not structured data, unstructured data, and understand a lot of intelligence that was hidden inside unstructured data. And then generative AI has come, and enterprises are reinventing the usage of data through generative AI. And generative AI, what it has enabled enterprises is that you have a lot of data, and you can ask some intelligence. You can go ahead and talk to the data and ask for some intelligence and an insight to be derived out of the data. And the question could be in one format. It could be a typed question, which is a textual question, and the answer could be in a different format. The answer could be in the form of an image or a video or an audio file or things like that. And it can be, you can use all permutations and combinations in terms of how you generate insights from the data. How do you generate intelligence from the data? Now, agentic AI has taken it to the next level. It is just not generating intelligence that is hidden inside the data. It is just not deriving and generating intelligence hidden inside the data. It also is using the power of reasoning, just like how a human agent would if you ask a question to a human agent, how the human agent would think, reason through, understand the preferences and the circumstances and the environment in which the question is being asked, and give you a response. Like that, agentic AI has enabled us to take generative AI to the next step, where you make use of multiple tools, just not the data alone, which are available, and create a reasoned, much more intelligent and intuitive response or a plan or a scheme to your question. It is just not answering your question. It is giving a more complete plan to the to what the person is asking for. And of course, then the next step is agentic AI, which is an amalgamation of both physical AI and digital AI, which I think Sen talked about. So this is how the enterprises are reinventing so far as data and insights is concerned, and we are in a very, very interesting part of that journey.
Right, Sundar, thanks for that. So what I'm taking away from both, all of you actually, including Ram and yourself, is that the force of AI to create or drive reinvention from bottom up. And once the direction is set that Senthil talked about, how do you drive it, and how do you use the latest technology, in this case AI, to drive it or help drive it through democratization. But Sundar, a quick question for you. When you speak of transformative change, either present or recent past, what are the examples that to you resonate the most and would resonate to, let's say, someone younger who's about to join the workforce or is just in the workforce, is trying to understand what's going on?
Sure, I could cite two examples, Govind. Number one is conversational AI. A very popular one, and multiple industries are adopting it. If I take one specific example of, let us say, healthcare insurance, right? There are so much of intelligence and hidden meanings and hidden insights that are there in the data. In the data, for example, I'll just cite a question. If I were to ask an agent, a human agent, hey, if I want to bring down my premium payment by 30%, how much of my coverage would that impact, and which are the network hospitals that will be most impacted? This is something a human agent will not be able to answer in a minute or so. He or she has to go through like tens of thousands of documents to understand this information. And very importantly, the human brain, each individual is different in terms of comprehending and responding. That itself is a major thing. But the same answer, if through a properly trained agent, can give you a very accurate answer and a quick answer to that, right? It's a complicated question if you think of it. If I may respond now, if I repeat the question, you'll be able to relate to it. How much, if I need to reduce my premium by 30%, what type of insurance coverage will it impact, and what are the ways in which different network hospitals will be impacted, right? So this, can I get a response to this in a minute? Yeah, an agentic AI framework can do this. This is an example of a conversational AI platform, an agentic AI-driven conversational AI platform. And the second one that is coming up in a big way is the amalgamation of digital AI and physical AI, where you train physical objects to understand, train objects to understand physics. If a robot is walking on this table, and if it reaches the edge of the table, it has to fall down, right? The intelligence to make it fall down at the edge of the table is what is the amalgamation of physical AI and digital AI, and that is also coming up in a big way.
Right, and that's good to know, Sundar. So let me come back to Mukesh. So Mukesh, one of the terms you used was, how business processes are becoming fluid from being hardwired. And to me, that's a fairly, it means much more than what it sort of sounds like. So do you want to take us through how this is changing, or people are changing in response to this, and whether we are even ready for this world?
Sure. So I think there are there are two aspects that I talked about, Govind, right? So one is the business process itself being more composable, because you have an ability to now look at and disintegrate your current value chain and completely look at it differently and say, how it will look like with agents, right? And once we are able to do that, given if you have some of those elements that Sen was talking about, which is about the whole cognitive digital brain, the right knowledge layer, you should be able to actually then be able to look at it, that being more composable, because at any point in time, if you want to change your business process, you should be able to actually go ahead and get the readily accessible data that's there with you, and should be able to change that. You don't have to go and every single time, for every single change that has to happen in business process, you don't have to go and start looking at what are my underlying data that I need, what is the underlying AI foundation that I need, and I need to start building that, right? It's all there, and that's the whole new modern architecture that we talk about. And when we say this, I think in that context, I think one thing that becomes very important is that there is a lot of this conversation about as to how do you get this access to enterprise data across domains. And in that context, if you look at, you are talking about, you have, let's say, you have different set of data that's there across different locations, different platforms, different environments. And that's, to me, is acceptable for a large enterprise. That's really how it's going to be. But now what happens is that as long as I'm able to, that in itself is not a problem. As long as I'm able to access that data, reliably, at speed, I'm able to actually then be able to use that to, for agents to work autonomously. We should be fine. But that's where the challenge is, that, and that challenge is getting solved. How? It's getting solved with some of these modern techniques that are there. So talk about, let's say, virtualization techniques. You talk about, let's say, the new architectures that are emerging, like your data mesh, lake houses, etc. And then, of course, the whole, new governance models that are emerging along with that. And with the whole advent of data products that make the access to data, available reliably and securely, is becoming very, very important in kind of, making this whole thing very composable. And you could change things around very, very quickly as the customers need change, and customers, are looking for your business process itself to change. You could do that very, very quickly.
Right. Okay, so the thematic question today is reinvention, and reinvention means that there is desire to reinvent. Your own survey shows that only 15% are ready, and many of them within that are also earlier adopters. Some are fast movers and are following, but they're following quickly, and there are others who are still contemplating. My question to you actually, and Sachin, Ram, and Sundar, maybe in that order. And Sachin, let me begin with you. You refer to banking as an industry now. Is banking an industry, and I'm going to apply this to as a question to pharmaceuticals as well. Is it an industry where, let's say, the challenge of reinvention is stronger because of the intrinsic nature of the industry? And what does it take, or what is it taking right now as we speak? And that obviously, to my mind at least, opens up the pathway to, let's say, more talent coming in, talent applying its skills to do that reinvention or that change.
So no, absolutely. So in terms of banking, I think the challenge of reinvention is a lot more because see, what you see is in terms of the overall macroeconomic conditions as well. Like margins that banks have will get compressed over time. That's a macro trend that we are seeing domestically in other markets as well. I think that will continue to have, and banks will have to figure out ways and means. How do they continue to drive things more efficiently, and how do you continue to sell things more profitably? And I think one fundamental thing I think which you talked about earlier is that the key thing in banking is basically trust. That's the biggest asset typically banks have. How do you continue to build on that trust and then being able to service your customers in a more effective manner so that you can service your various stakeholders as well? I think that becomes critical, and that's a reason the need for reinvention becomes absolutely critical in banking, and that's happening. I think we talked of some examples of, let's say, I'll give you an example, like simple processes like credit underwriting. Now, typically a credit underwriting, let's say for a retail, even today, most banks have a very rule-based system. So you may have a machine learning algorithm, but ultimately the way you deploy it is basically that is a set of rules. If a customer is compliant with those rules or those conditions, the customer will get a loan, otherwise he won't. And that becomes tricky. So that's where we are seeing, let's say, the hard wiring of some of the systems that you have. How do you make it more fluid? And I think that was Mukesh was alluding to as well earlier, is that if you were to imagine what, let's say if you think about like a negotiator agent can now be doing, it can actually be interacting with the customer in real time, understand the requirements the person may have, the kind of funding needs we have, understand what kind of repayment capability it may have, and actually customize a payment plan and a term that's actually more suitable for him. And that's where we are seeing, let's say, the change from, let's say, a hardwired system, which was entirely rule dependent, gives you a binary answer, to a more fungible or a collapsible, let's say, fluid kind of a system, where obviously we have an agent working under some guardrails that have been set up, but being able to provide that. I think those are the kind of things that we've started seeing a lot more as well now, which make this thing very, very interesting now.
And this obviously means that there are people who are trained in AI who are actually working on the back end and converting these hardwired processes to the fluid ones, which also means that next time I go to buy an iPhone, I could get a loan more easily.
No, absolutely. I think, see, that's the fun part of it. And like I've been here for like the industry for 20 odd years in this space, and I've been Accenture for more than 10, 12 years now. And I think that's what keeps things exciting. Like I always tell to my team that anytime a client comes to us or people are coming to us for solving problems, they will only come to us with some of the most difficult problems to solve. And as I say, you can either love it or you can hate it. So if you love it, I think this is a place to be in, because you will have the opportunity to be solving those. But if that doesn't excite you, that's tricky. So you get all the tools or the training that Senthil mentioned in terms of earlier as well. We do have visibility through our partners like Sundar here in terms of what is the latest and greatest coming up in technology and how this can be applied. So you do get the early sneak peek into those things, and then being able to develop solutions for your clients. And I think that gets very, very exciting. But again, it does mean that your learning curve will have to be like very, very steep.
Right.
Like I remember the first model that I built for a collection strategy, I actually coded onto a FDR screen and actually binaries like zeros and ones. That's how the implementation was did. The way we do it today, it's fundamentally completely different. It has gone through multiple iterations over time.
Yeah.
So it's not that it has changed from then to now. It has gone through those multiple pivots over time. And that's what makes it the space actually very exciting.
Right. And today is Monday, and as Senthil said, things have changed, and by next Monday, it will change again. So, Ram, in the context of pharmaceuticals, I mean, that is not so consumer facing, but how does that same question apply to you?
Yeah, so I would phrase it as yes, the challenge of reinvention is relatively high, Govind, being a regulated industry, entire healthcare and life sciences. But I think also the opportunity is much, much relevant and bigger for this industry because, I mean, you might have heard all the advances that AlphaFold 3 has made in protein shape discovery and target identification and things like that. So I think as an industry we are very, very optimistic, and there is a real drive to make sure that we take advantage of this opportunity because that is much bigger than the challenge of reinvention. And it's not optional for us. I think that's where the industry is headed, and I think every company within this industry has to pursue these technologies.
Right. I like this term that you used, Ram, about language being the new UI. Is that something that's obvious to everyone who is, entering the workforce or is in the workforce and is getting AI ready? Or is it something that, according to you at least, feels or needs much greater thought and introspection?
I think it might, every user might not internalize it yet, but I think it is obvious from the day they start using these technologies, because if you remember how usually machine interactions happened, there were complex interfaces, forms, drop downs, etc. to navigate. To now, you are just expressing your intent. There is no, I think this also refers to the fluid processes that we were talking about. Is if we are not so the interaction doesn't have to be so structured anymore. So it has become more verbal from visual. It has become, I would, I think, phrase it as, instead of a user interface, it's a human interface now. So I think people are slowly realizing that we probably have to rethink how we interact with machines, systems, and processes in general, because all of these technologies are enabling that.
And one quick addition here, Govind, is that the concept of language neutralization is picking up, where you don't even have to converse with an agent in your native language. I mean, you could ask in a question in the language that you are comfortable with, and let's say if it's a human agent who is sitting and looking for answers, he or she will understand in the language which they are comfortable with, and they give a response in one language, and you'll be able to hear it in your own preferred language. So this concept is called as language neutralization, and in fact, I mean, that sort of endorses Ram's view that language is becoming the new UI. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to go to questions shortly. So, and we are pretty tight on time. Let me come back to Sachin. So, you did say that, again, that's a very telling statement. You say that some of the hardest problems once upon a time are being solved. And you used one example in banking. Because to me, that also shows the opportunity pathway for those who want to be part of this exciting world. Is there any other example that you want to share with us? I mean, where you're seeing this kind of, transition or change?
See, quite a bit actually. Very simple things like internal risk and compliance, I think. So that used to be quite a task earlier, because if you imagine, most of that stuff is basically unstructured data. These are things that people may be chatting on internal systems, or let's say through emails, etc. A lot of this is something that you can analyze very, very quickly using, let's say, a large language model, and being able to monitor in terms of what may be happening from a conversation perspective to what do you see from an actual transaction perspective, and basically then triangulate it out. I think the ability to do that at speed has changed completely. So that has become very interesting, and I think that's where we're seeing a lot of usage of some of these technologies in terms of fraud prevention, compliance, etc. And these are some of the more tough problems that we see in banking. Right. They are being solved through some of these things as well.
Right. Okay. We're very tight on time. So let me firstly thank all of you for sharing your thoughts, sharing it candidly, and giving us some very interesting points of view and directions for how we should be looking at AI and our roles in it, and how things could be shaping up. So Thank you for breaking things down. Thank you for providing us those tangible pathways to navigate this AI revolution. And it's time for questions now. So we've got a few questions, and let me pick one or two, which I'll throw it open and anyone can really answer. So let's start with a slightly tricky one. I think the tricky one is, how do we ensure the quality, integrity, and privacy of the data feeding of our artificial intelligence systems? So who wants to
go? Maybe I can take a start, maybe.
Yeah.
And maybe okay, yes, sorry, then. So I think, see, that's where I think so a couple of things that have to be taken into consideration, and I think, and it's an interesting question because you'll have to see from the lens of like a chat GPT kind of a scenario, which is, let's say, general purpose consumer AI, to what we, let's say, work is primarily on our enterprise AI. Now, the whole idea of any kind of solution that is being built for an enterprise has those trust elements. And that's where, in terms of things like what we call as responsible AI, that becomes absolutely critical in terms of how it is being designed.
Right.
Now, there are guardrails that you build as you build some of these solutions, both in terms of the kind of, let's say, data references to the context window it can refer to, even the knowledge bases it is supposed to be referring to give you the answer. Like in an enterprise setup, I don't really want, let's say, the agent that I have built to leverage all kinds of things maybe available on the internet and then give me the answer. I want it a bit more restricted to, let's say, the knowledge base that I'm providing around my policies, my terms and conditions around the products that I'm selling as a bank, and being able to provide that. And that is something has to be baked in as part of the solution as you build that out. So that's one of the ways that we are tackling this quite a bit.
Okay, here's a question which I think Sundar, being from NVIDIA, is well placed to answer. The question is, out of curiosity, as the discussion is about Gen AI and AI, do you think we are heading towards singularity, and do you think singularity is achievable?
Well, I mean, singularity is never achievable. I mean, theoretically. I mean, yeah. So I mean, let's not think too much about the theoretical aspects of it, right? I mean, the fact is that AI is set to change the world, and there is no way we can escape technology. I mean, that's what it is, and the idea is to embrace AI and to answer, I mean, just to add to Sachin's good points earlier, that is where, how do I ensure data privacy that is where the concept of enterprise LLMs come into play, or small language models come into play. And Accenture AI Refinery is doing precisely that. So on one hand, you have the community AI tools like ChatGPT, which are fantastic. And then on the other hand, you have enterprise-owned LLMs, small language models, which can do specific tasks. They cannot boil the ocean like what a ChatGPT can do, but they can do the specific tasks extraordinarily well. So things like this will continue to happen. And the idea is to accept and embrace the change and not, aim for singularity. Let's not work towards singularity. That will be my response. Yeah.
Okay. So, and here's an extension to the question before that. The question is, while artificial intelligence is evolving rapidly, and the writer of this question says, I believe it cannot entirely replace human capabilities. And I'm going to come to Ram on this. Given the associated risks and ethical concerns, do you view AI as ultimately constructive or potentially destructive? Additionally, how can AI be harnessed in a purely constructive manner to benefit society? Ram?
Yeah. So no, it can be harnessed very, very constructively. I think Sundar hit it on the head when he said, let's not chase some super intelligence that might evolve. But we are seeing multiple variants of AI that sometimes meet and exceed our own expectations of how other humans are supposed to perform for that particular role. So yes, it can definitely be used very constructively, and that's where we are headed. The entire conversation about is it human versus AI? I think it is humans with AI and not versus AI. So a lot of the things that we do will be done together, will be complementing each other. I think Microsoft stole the thunder here by renaming or naming their entire offering as co-pilots, because essentially what it is that the AI will be a co-pilot and not be the replacement pilot that we are looking for, or that we might afraid it will be. We might be afraid that it will be. Yeah.
Right. And here's another question about where do you see generative AI making the biggest impact in the next few years, especially in industries that are still figuring out how to leverage it? So we've already touched upon this in our conversation so far, but maybe Mukesh, you could use this to give a quick sum up as well.
Yes, sure, Govind. And by the way, I was noticing that I did talk about you kind of purchasing a luxury car. You went on to loan, so looks like that you are really in the
I'm in the market.
So I think and to some of the examples that were being talked about even before, if I just say think of it, right? We talk about autonomous cars, but just think of it, it could be that autonomous manufacturing of cars probably could be even sooner than autonomous cars, right, at that scale. So of course, industrial is manufacturing is one space that we are going to see a significant change that's going to happen with digital twin coming in, and you can see in terms of how you can completely look at your process, predict things that are going to go wrong and be able to change that, and then how you are going to be able to look at the whole manufacturing of tomorrow and be able to do some of that. So I think industrial is definitely one space that we are going to see significant change. Given that Ram is here on this, I'll say even life sciences, for example, right? Starting from not just set up, you have your molecular biologists, etc., who are spending more time probably creating those regulatory responses, those documents. That's going to completely change. But not just that, even in terms of target identification, etc., right? There is a significant change, and the whole cycle time that you take to discover a drug is going to significantly shrink, right? So I think in each of the industry that if you pick, Govind, the way I look at it is that it's very important that enterprises identify the right processes, which is high impact processes. That is the first step, because we are talking about reinvention. When we talk about reinvention, the moves have to be bold, right? And that's really what I will leave with, that and that's really what, when we work with clients, we look at these, and the 5 imperatives that Sen was talking about earlier actually pretty much resonates with this.
Right, and Ram and Sundar, so if you were to look at your own hiring path for the kind of skills that we've been talking about, or the skills to drive the kind of outcomes that we've been talking about, where would you say you are currently, Ram?
Yeah, so fundamentally, the need for good talent has not changed, Govind. I mean, when I say good talent, if we are hiring for a technology role, we would definitely look for a good, software engineer, perhaps with some, with broader understanding. Instead of very, very narrowed view of things. I think I think for every role that is now will now be a prerequisite to have more horizontal viewpoint than vertical expertise. So that you would be able to play that role of, I think we were talking about being a manager of agents. If we are talking about, agents that we can deploy, agents that we can manage, then having that ability to sort of bring all of these things together into a cohesive system or process to deliver the needed outcomes would be necessary. So if you are in the technology space, make sure you know the fundamentals, but make sure you also have a broader view of things on how these things are built and put together. If you are in business space, make sure you have a good understanding of the business processes involved and things like that. Yeah.
Okay, Sundar, you're one of the companies I'm sure everyone wants to join. So
I echo Ram's views here, Govind. I mean, the fundamentals of definition of a good employee or a contributing employee has not changed because the technology has evolved. Those fundamentals remain the same. Somebody whose foundations are very strong, who can communicate clearly in written and verbal language, and who, if he's on the technology side, who is able to think laterally, who has got strong foundations of mathematics, software engineering, etc., he or she will be able to pick up a tool called an agentic AI, creating agentic AI, creating a generative AI, etc. Those are tools. Tools can be learned. That should not be a problem, provided the fundamentals are strong. Yeah.
Sundar, if I can, supplement that question to what Ram was saying, he did say, as many have been saying, about the need for more horizontal views or a horizontal knowledge base. What is the one thing that you would look for when it comes to defining that horizontal knowledge, which goes beyond, let's say, your engineering degree or things that you've picked up in that path?
The ability to think laterally, that's important. Rise up to the occasion, to have the right attitude to learn and understand. That's very, very important, because look at all of us. I think none of us have studied generative AI or in college. It's not that we were taught, we learned about it. And then there are like millions of people in our age who have not caught up with this. So to answer your specific question, Govind, the ability to change and the ability to adopt to new technologies and the hunger to learn and deliver is the most important one in my view.
Right, Sundar, thank you so much for that, and that was a very, very effective sum up as well. In terms of where the young people who are looking at AI should be, directing their gaze and their attention and all their efforts as we go forward. So it's been a great start to the Accenture Data and AI Week. So thank you so much for joining us. Today's sessions gave us a strong foundation in understanding the shift from automation to autonomy and how enterprises are already adapting to the Gen AI era, which is powered by data. So thank you once again for being part of it. Tomorrow is yet another exciting day, and we will transition from insights to implementation with AI in action and spotlight how industries are putting AI to work in the real world. So join us at 10 a.m. sharp and see you then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.